Our first course, creamy scrambled eggs with tomatoes, mustard and thin herbs. Let's start with our eggs. When I break eggs, I always put them first in a small bowl and then in a large, so that way if there are some shells in there or if one egg might not be good, I can remove it and I don't have to throw everything away. We call it in the French language fine herb or fine herbs. This is the ABC of cooking. When you chop herbs, use the left hand to hold the tip of the knife down, and with the right hand you go up and down just like that. You start slowly and then you go faster and faster and faster and faster. Okay, let's add them to our eggs. Now, some fresh ground black pepper. I love to add fresh pepper to it because it gives it a much better flavor. And naturally, some salt. We always salt the eggs before cooking because if not, it wouldn't have the right taste. If I would have just 3 eggs in here, I would beat them with a fork. But because I have 12, a whisk makes it much easier. I can smell eggs and the garden almost, the garden of vegetables. I have my 2 egg yolks here. I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. I love heavy cream instead of milk because it makes it much creamier and also it tastes better. And 3 tablespoons of mustard. This is Dijon mustard. Okay. Now, we're gonna mix it really well and reserve it for the end. As you know probably, mustard is not very good when it's cooked too long. It gets grainy, so we're gonna add the mustard cream with the egg yolk and cream at the end. Okay, let's heat up our pan here. I always add a little bit of oil first to my pan here, and then the butter. Here's our fresh butter. I really like to cook with oil and butter together because you get the flavor of the butter, and it gives it a lightly nutty and rich flavor. Now you can see here, when the butter starts to foam, that's about the right amount of heat. Now you have to stir it constantly. Now look at that, there's nothing brown on the bottom of my pan here. It's nice and creamy, and it doesn't even stick here. All right, now I'm gonna add my tomatoes. I like the tomatoes for color. You can add a little bit of red pepper if you don't have any tomatoes. Okay, now we're gonna add our mustard cream. I always test the skills of a good chef by how he makes an omelet. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of butter to it. I'm gonna melt a tablespoon of butter in a skillet here. Now some people add cream to it, a little bit of milk. I like to add butter because when I add butter, it doesn't stick in the pan. If you add liquid like cream or milk, it's very hard to make a nice omelet. So a little brown butter, just lightly brown, gives it a good flavor, and it also helps that your egg doesn't stick. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of fresh ground pepper. You mix your eggs until they're really well broken up. It doesn't have to become fluffy or anything. Just mix that the egg yolks and egg whites are very well mixed together with a little butter, a little salt, a little bit of pepper, and that's it. For me, the most important thing to make an omelet is to have a non-stick pan. You will never miss making an omelet with a pan like that. Now, it is still important to heat the pan up really well. Then we're gonna add a little bit of oil. Because it is a non-stick pan, you don't need a lot of oil or butter in here. I'm using a little touch of olive oil. I prefer the flavor of olive oil. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. Now, as soon as it turns brown a little bit, I'm gonna turn my heat up. Just when it starts to turn color, we're gonna add our eggs. It's about the right time now. Now, don't go away and watch TV now. You have to stir it right away. I don't make my omelet with a plastic spatula or with a wooden spatula, with the back of my fork here. You can see this is the fork. I use the back of the fork. Look at that. And you shake it a little bit with the left hand if you can. Mix it together just like that. You see they're scrambled nicely but soft in the inside. That's when you stop. Let's turn the heat down. This is a heavy skillet. I have here some tomatoes cooked with a little thyme, a little garlic, a little olive oil. Here we have white wine vinegar. The vinegar will help to form the egg better, to coagulate the egg whites, the protein, before the egg yolk gets cooked. So you can really have nice shaped eggs. And some salt. Now remember, you don't want to boil the water. Just simmer it slightly. You'll see some air bubbles coming out. That's the right way. So now we're going to slide it into our water, nice and gently. And you can see right away how the egg whites almost gets lifted up and pulled around your egg yolk. Now look at that. My egg yolk is way too soft now. It would be a problem really actually to handle it after. So we have to cook it a few more minutes. If the water starts to boil, the egg whites get really rubbery. So it is really important not to boil the water. It is important to put your eggs on a paper towel so that way it drains thoroughly. Also, if there's too much egg white around, you can remove it with a finger or with a little knife afterwards. I like them nice and crispy, but also that way it renders all the excess fat. Now this is a good way to make a vinaigrette because we actually don't need any oil. We put that on top and we finish it with the rest of our lardons on top of my salad. See how easy it is? Now I have a little fresh herbs here. We can put a few sprigs of my chervil on top, and voila, we are ready to eat a wonderful salad, just like in a bistro in Lyon. All right, it's about 5 minutes now. Now, if you like your eggs really hard, you can leave it in a little longer, but I like them a little bit soft in the center. Now look at that, how beautiful it looks. We're gonna add a little julienne of fresh basil on the top. I have some nice basil leaves. Now you can make a wonderful, easy supper out of a few eggs and a little bit of imagination, as you can see. Sprinkle a little bit of that for a little extra flavor. And we set a few drizzles of olive oil. Now what is great with this dish, you actually can eat it the next day cold with a little vinaigrette on top, with a little salad. So it's very versatile, very tasty. You just have to get the right firmness when you try to cut it out. So when you touch it, it has to have a little resistance. Look how nicely it comes out. I believe in America, eggs became synonymous with breakfast. Why? I don't know.